During lunch, the Galapagos Explorer would head for the island of Rábida. The iron oxide red beach here is a favorite basking place for sea lions, and there are often sea lion pups to be seen. As a measure of how unafraid the sea lions are, I have often seen them carelessly lie on people's feet and snooze. Brown pelicans can be found all over the Galapagos, especially around fishing boats, but the low brush behind the red beach is the best place to see them nesting. They're surprisingly smelly birds. Sometimes we would also see American oyster catchers on Rábida and other islands. Also behind the beach lies a lagoon where one can often see flamingos and pintail ducks. I've occasionally seen the fluffy white flamingo chicks wander down to the beach. One of the most remarkable Galapagos experiences to me was to see a flamingo at the water's edge while a penguin paddled right offshore. Two animals you would never expect to see together. But winds and ocean currents that sweep along the west coasts of North and South America toward the equator curve west at the equator and are responsible for bringing the strange mix of species to the Galapagos Islands. After a short hike, some of us would go snorkeling off the red beach before returning to the ship. There's a variety of sea life to view, such as this bump-headed parrotfish, and sea lions often play with the swimmers. I once had two sea lions grasp hold of the tips of my swim fins and tug me along through the water. That night, the Galapagos Explorer would sail north, crossing the equator for the first time that week. Of course, we would often see dolphins riding in the wake of our ship, but once during breakfast I looked out to see two sperm whales traveling parallel to the ship for several minutes. The ship would set anchor in Tagus Cove, off the largest island, Isabela, which is comprised of 1 inactive and 5 active volcanoes. At the landing site, we would often see flightless cormorants drying their stubby wings. With no land predators to threaten them, and with food sources so close to shore, the cormorants in the Galapagos lost their ability to fly. Instead, they developed more powerful legs and streamlined bodies to allow them to swim better. They have brilliant turquoise eyes and are known for their dramatic snake-necking courtship. Notice the graffiti on the rocks in the distance. For hundreds of years, sailors have, unfortunately, painted or carved the names of their ships on the walls of Tagus Cove. We would then hike above the saltwater-filled crater called Darwin Lake, which affords this magnificent view. Much further along the trail, we would see another dramatic view, this one showing 3 of Isabela's 6 volcanoes. On the return trip, we would take the pangas along the shore of Tagus Cove, where we would often see penguins sitting on the rocks, sometimes as many as a dozen at a time. This picture I find particularly remarkable in that it shows 4 different classes of animals in a single location: bird, reptile, mammal, and arthropod, the black and red crabs. There's surely fish in the penguins and sea lion too. Only amphibians never naturally establish themselves in the Galapagos Islands. Another occasional sight in Tagus Cove is the great blue heron. In the afternoon, the Galapagos Explorer would navigate the short distance to Punta Espinosa on Fernandina Island. Fernandina is the youngest of the Galapagos Islands and, along with Isabela, constitutes one of the most active volcanic regions in the world. Here you can see huge flows of sharp and broken A'a lava, as well as the ropey Pahoehoe lava. The island has numerous tide pools and lagoons where one can spot a variety of life, including the ubiquitous bright red and orange Sally Lightfoot crabs found on all the islands. Occasionally we would see green sea turtles swimming in the calm lagoons. Rarely would we see penguins, but we could always count on seeing the flightless cormorants and their seaweed nests along the shore. Here I tell my passengers a little bit about the flightless cormorants.
Wings became smaller because large wings get in the way of a diving bird. Before too long, they completely lost their ability to fly, and they're the only one of about 16 species of cormorants that have lost the ability to fly. You'll see that it's got a silver band on its foot there. They're being carefully monitored by the park because, well, frankly, their populations are very vulnerable. You have an introduced animal here and it could destroy their nests very easily.
What are they doing with their throats?
That is called guller flutter, and it's common in all of the Pelecaniformes, which includes the flightless cormorants, the frigate birds, all of the boobies, the red-billed tropic bird, and the pelican, of course. They have an area called the guller, which is part of the throat which they can moisten and flutter in the breeze. That cools off their blood, which is flowing through the neck.
Of course, we could always find sea lions, too. Large colonies of marine iguanas swim in these waters and bask on the shore as well. You can often see them sneeze to expel the salt they ingest while feeding on seaweed. Occasionally we would see marine iguanas mating, which is a particularly aggressive affair. Other reptiles here include the lava lizards, which often catch flies and eat dead skin off the marine iguanas, and the Dromicus snake. The Galapagos hawks feed on all three reptiles. This hawk was kind enough to sit on a branch so close we could have touched him. This dead mangrove in the middle of a wide open area would often serve as a perch for hawks. Here's a juvenile and an adult. The tree also frequently served as a perch for mockingbirds, frigate birds, even marine iguanas. That night the Galapagos Explorer would return to the Central Islands, again crossing the equator. On the way though, after dinner, we guides would sneak away as the passengers ate dessert. We would dress up as pirates and burst into the dining room roaring and yelling. Here I am with our mascot, the rubber chicken of the sea. Selected passengers dressed as King Neptune and his queen would yell at the captain for crossing the equator without making the proper sacrifices. We pirates would then round up a few of the passengers that we thought could handle the hazing and made them act like boobies or sea lions or drink fake iguana blood. King Neptune would then announce that he was satisfied and that there would be a costume party after dessert. We often had a hard time finding passengers with enough presence and humor to play the role of King Neptune, so I eventually took over the job for the remainder of the year. After the costume party, I would also play the role of an endemic Galapagos elephant trainer.
De un animal especial hoy noche. I am the animal trainer of a very special animal here tonight. Un elefante endémico de Galapagos. It's an endemic elephant from Galapagos.
Two guides would dress up as Jambo, the elephant, and pretend to be drunk while I tried to have him perform tricks to the audience. The spectacle would end when Jambo would walk over a passenger volunteer, and the guides would squirt water all over the hapless victim as if Jambo had lost control of his bladder.